Hey everyone, welcome to the daily analysis for today. This is Nathan Tucci. I just got back from being away for a week or so out of the country, and I'm really glad to be back with you. For those of you who are more recent followers of the daily analysis, you might have not even known I was missing or that I was gone. But either way, here I am back to do the analysis with you, and I'm excited to be back and be looking at the charts and trading with you all. And so I haven't really looked at the charts over the past week or so. I've been obviously away and paying attention to more important things than trading. But it's great to get back into the markets and take a look. And today I'm going to share with you what I've noticed as I've been kind of getting my bearings again today looking at these charts and what I kind of foresee based on the past week or so of what's happened since I was gone. Okay, so we're going to get into all of that, but before we jump into that, let's take a look at our news so we can see what announcements might affect the things that we're going to be talking about during the technical analysis. Alrighty guys, so some red tag stuff we have here is we have Japanese yen news, and that's at 1:46 a.m. and then also 4:04 a.m. So could be an interesting day for the yen tomorrow, of course, depending on what happens with that news. And then we also have Euro news, and that comes out at 4 a.m. and then again at 6:12 a.m. So Euro and yen are the two major things that are happening in the morning. Some in the London, and then some at the very end of the London session. And then we have the 8:30 p.m. Australian news, which is building approvals, and of course odd news late when it kind of comes out by itself tends to do some pretty interesting things in the market in terms of Australian crosses. So that's probably the main announcement that I will want to take a look at, because the odd is an interesting pair. A lot of times when news comes out with the Australian, it really rocks to one direction during that kind of interval between the Asian and the London session. Before the London session really gets rolling, the odd comes out with some news and shakes things up. So that's one I always like to pay attention to, and I would encourage you to be very careful if you have any odd trades open during that time. Alrighty, let's also take a quick look at our terms before we get into the charts. Okay, and as you know, if you follow the daily analysis regularly, the terms basically just say that we're not licensed or registered or qualified to provide investment advice. The daily analysis is something we do just for your educational purpose, and it's not our way of telling you what to do with your money or how to risk your money. It's just something that is as a tool to share our thoughts and our knowledge with you. Okay, so if you need to pause this to read through that, please do. Of course, you're responsible for understanding the terms and not wanting to sue us if you make any bad trades. So make sure you read through that if you need to. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into the charts. Alright guys, so the first thing we have up here is the euro dollar, of course. And since I've been gone, the euro dollar certainly went down quite a bit, falling from basically the top of this little triangle that I've drawn in here all the way to the bottom. And my expectations actually, when I was leaving, the euro was moving pretty strong, and I was thinking that it's a continuation of the uptrend and actually going to make a higher high above this peak that we have here. But obviously, since I've been gone, it's moved pretty much straight down, and we've kind of developed more of this triangle pattern that I've drawn in here. So now we're getting a small bounce off the bottom of the triangle, and it's looking like we're ready for another one of these wedge shape before it breaks out, like often happens. So I'm not super confident that the euro is bullish just based on this small triangle. It's only been tested a few times, but it does appear that the euro is in more of a choppy kind of state, and that it's not making a very clear direction. And like I typically say in situations where there's a lot of stuff going on, for instance, we have this triangle happening here. We have this long downward trend line that's going on here. We have this trend line that's been tested a few times, both here and also here. And then we have this horizontal zone that's moving straight across the chart that is happening for quite some time over here. So because there's a lot of things affecting price and price is not really making clear direction, I typically say that it's better to find a different pair of trade, one that has just more clear movement in it, and that would also be my advice with the euro dollar. So though I do think there's something to be said here with the triangle and what looks to be happening, I would personally advise looking for a pair that has more clarity. And so let's go ahead and take a look at a few other pairs. Alright guys, so the pound dollar to me is a little more definite direction than the euro, because obviously there's some consistent downward movement in it. You can see it based on this trend line that we have moved down consistently for several weeks. And what's nice is that this trend line has been tested several times during this downward spike. Now, there's definitely some upward moves. You can see that these spikes have significant pip count to them, but it seems rather consistent that each time it spikes, it does get down to a lower low, obviously based on the trend line that we have here. Now, this recent 2-bar daily move to the upside, let me get rid of these lines. This one right here was followed by one bearish bar, or two technically, but very small bar, and then a larger bearish bar. And now today's bar is kind of centering or coming back for a retest. So this to me, and again, this is just kind of a very general basis, but this to me looks like we're still going to be striving for a lower low here. That the euro dollar, or excuse me, the pound dollar does want to head down and eventually get back into this range, which is kind of the reasonable downward target for the pound dollar below the 158 level because of this area here that it broke out of. So to me, that's kind of the ultimate target for it, and it looks like it's struggling to get down to that level. There is definitely some bullish spikes along the way, but with a good entry and obviously some solid trade management, being patient and all of that, you could potentially be up pretty nicely on the pound dollar with a short right now. Assuming that you took it up here on this original tail or off a strong bullish bounce on this one. Some of these are pretty good trade opportunities, and it looks like, even though there are those bullish spikes that I mentioned, that the pound does want to head down. And so, that's what it looks like to me, despite, some weird moves that it's made where it's looked like it was really gaining some momentum to the upside. It still is in, a recent downward move since the original reversal that happened all the way up here. And, of course, since then, even though it's, again, it's been somewhat choppy, it's moved down to 360 pips. Right now, it's about 250 from that top level, but it had made ground up to 360 pips from this original reversal. I'll say it one more time. The pound is trading tricky. It's bouncing and it's doing things, but it is heading down. That's the overall direction of the market. And to me, it's a little more clear than the euro, which is, a little more choppy and has some more areas that it's struggling at than the pound. And so that's just my personal view on the pound, that it does want to get back down to this level. It might take some time as it chops back, but it appears that it's headed back towards this area, and there's serious bearish sentiment in the pound. And of course, speaking of chopping, we have the AUD dollar, which has been relatively sideways for quite some time, and then even sideways within the sideways market recently, just not making any type of ground in any direction. If you zoom in a little bit here, which I will do, you can see that we have obviously the triangle converging here, and it's been moving back and forth between this upward trend line and the middle of the market here, and not really made any type of ground over the past few weeks. So the AUD is just kind of bouncing back and forth, not really making a strong move in any direction. However, it looks like it wants to get back up and test this level once again. It's not, again, making strong movements, but it looks like it wants to get up here. And then, of course, if it does get in this area, we'll look for short trades based on the reaction. If we get a tail bar like this, we'll certainly look for a short trade because the AUD has been held within this range for quite some time. So the AUD, I think, is kind of a waiting game, waiting till it gets to a stronger level, and not getting impatient and just trading it out of that impatience. It's it's sometimes annoying to wait for the market to get to a better level, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you profitable, is waiting for only the best setups and taking those, rather than just taking anything that looks good at that time at a certain time frame. All right, let's look at a few more pairs here. All right, and finally a pair that is showing a little more definite direction. This is the euro pound, and if you've watched daily analysis for a length of time, you know that I've been talking about the euro pound for several weeks, because I like that it's moving in a technically sound trending fashion. And so you can see that the euro pound, even though it moves slow, has been consistently making higher highs, bouncing off the same trend line, and it looks like it wants to do it again. Good base that it's building again right off the trend line here, and some small bullish consistent bars to the upside. Now, of course, there's probably going to be some bearish bars along the way, but this looks like it wants to make a higher high, which is something that can't be said for a lot of the other pairs. A lot of the other pairs do not have consistent trends and are not bouncing off good levels like the euro pound. So eventually, this trade is not going to work. Eventually, this trend is going to collapse, and we're going to go long in a perfect area and get crushed. But until then, all of these long trades, in my opinion, are worth taking because it's the most consistent trend that I'm seeing right now in the market. And so the euro pound again, the euro showing that it's shaping up to be stronger than the pound once again. And you can see that on the evidence that I showed you before, the pound dollar looking like it's a little more bearish than the euro dollar, showing more pound weakness. So to me, that's more confidence in this euro pound making another move to the upside. So that's the most confident trade idea or trade opportunity that I see right now in the market is this euro pound looking like it wants to move up and make another higher high. So that's nice to have at least one pair that looks to have some definite direction. Of course, what ends up happening normally is that the one that looks like it's the surest ends up burning you. But part of trading is just taking the technically sound setups over and over again and relying on the idea that high probability trades are going to yield you a net profit over time, and not worrying about that specific trade and whether or not that specific trade is going to cause you profit or loss, because that technically sound setup is going to yield profit over a period of time, and that's what trading is really all about. Alright guys, so those are the only pairs I'm going to cover right now. I'll take it easy for my first time back in a while and only cover a few pairs. Tomorrow we'll get into actually some more pairs. I'm going to continue studying the market a little more, and then I'm going to go over probably 8 or 9 pairs in tomorrow's analysis to give you a more wide view of the market. But for today, those are just some of the pairs I want to cover and talk about in a little more detail. So thank you for watching. I hope that my first analysis back was not too rusty and that it was helpful for you. And I would love for you to leave a comment and let me know what you did like, what you didn't like, and what I can do better, because we certainly want to get better with the daily analysis every single day. Alright guys, thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.